Let me summarize the South Africa versus Israel case at the ICJ for those who missed it. I will give you a summary of what South Africa argued and Israel's responses in between because it was a long presentation. Advocate Adila Hassim SC led South Africa's arguments, dealing specifically with genocidal conduct. She argued that there was a transgression of Article 2 of the ICJ Convention, and she dealt with a number of actions that fall within the definition of acts of genocide that Israel was committing in Gaza. And those acts included specifically targeting Palestinians living in Gaza, using weaponry including 2,000-pound bombs that causes large-scale homicidal destruction, the deliberate sniping of civilians, and designating safe zones for Palestinians to seek refuge, and when they go there, they start bombing them, depriving Palestinians in Gaza of basic necessities such as food, water, healthcare, fuel, sanitation, communications, destroying social infrastructure such as homes, schools, mosques, churches, and hospitals, and killing, seriously injuring and leaving large number of children orphaned. Israel responded, and Israel's response basically did not entirely deny the existence of all these accusations, but rather they sought to justify them as a conflict between two parties, which was started by Hamas, obviously, and Israel was merely exercising its right to self-defense and protection of its citizens. They argued that during the course of the conflict, the necessary aid was allowed inside Gaza, but obviously did not deny that they blocked that aid before they started invading Gaza. They argued that women were raped and being killed while they are being raped by Hamas militants, and families were being burned alive inside their homes. Hamas militants filmed themselves doing all these kind of things, and Hamas called for annihilation of Israel on live TV interview. They said there are many distortions on the applicant's case, which is South Africa. It's as if there's no armed conflict between two parties. They argued that buildings inside Gaza were used as booby traps by Hamas, and some of Hamas's rockets that were misfired fell on those buildings. So they are saying not all destruction is caused by Israel. Some of those is Hamas. Then later on, we had Advocate Thembeka Itobi SC, who dealt extensively with what we call genocide intent, or what in law they call dollar specialis, simply meaning Israel had intentions to commit genocide in Gaza at all material times. And he quoted statements made by senior Israeli leaders, starting with the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who amongst others said, quoting the Bible, "Now go and attack Amalek and proscribe all that belong to him, spare no one, but kill alike all men and women, infants and sucklings, oxen and sheep, camel and asses," close quote. And also Minister of National Security, who repeated some of the president's speech that Hamas and civilians are all responsible in equal measure. And further said, open quotes, "When we say that Hamas should be destroyed, it also means those who celebrate and those who support, those who hand out candy. They are all terrorists and should be destroyed." Again, there was a statement by Minister of Defense who said, open quote, "Israel is opening a complete siege on Gaza. No electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals and we are acting accordingly. Gaza won't return to what it was before. We will eliminate everything. Minister of Energy as well, threw in some of his views, energy and infrastructure, who called for denial of water and fuel, as this is what will happen to people of children, killers and slaughters. This admits of no ambiguity. It means to create conditions of death of the Palestinian people in Gaza to die a slow death because of starvation and dehydration, or to die quickly because of a bomb attack or snipers, close quotes. Advocate Nkaitobi argued that these statements were direct instructions to the Israel troops, which the ground troops in Gaza understood exactly as such. And he played videos and images of those troops, some of those troops who recorded themselves eliminating houses and villages and singing as they were doing it. Israel's response to the question of genocidal intent, they argued that all the statements were misrepresented. Again, they did not deny that they were made by all those leaders, but rather argued that Israel possesses a clear structure of war management bodies that makes decisions around the war conduct in accordance with the law of Israel. And they argued that those comments were made outside formal decisions or policy-making structures, but they did not deny that those statements were made by those leaders. Then we had Professor John Dugat, SC, who argued the question of jurisdiction and indicated that on the 17th of November, South Africa referred Israel's commission of the crime of genocide to the International Criminal Court, ICC, for vigorous investigation. South Africa repeated this accusation at a meeting of BRICS on the 21 November 2023 and at an emergency special session of the UN Assembly on the 12th of December 2023. No response from Israel was forthcoming. None was necessary by this time. The dispute, according to South Africa, had already crystallized as a matter of law. According to Professor Dugat, this was confirmed by Israel's official and unequivocal denial on the 6th of December 2023 that it was committing acts of genocide in Gaza. As a matter of courtesy, before filing this present application on the 21st of December, South Africa sent a note verbal to the Embassy of Israel to reiterate its view that Israel's acts of genocide in Gaza amounted to genocide and that it, as a state party to the Genocide Convention, was under an obligation to prevent genocide from being committed. Israel responded by way of a note verbal that failed to address the issues raised by South Africa in its note, and neither affirmed nor denied the existence of a dispute. They emailed late on the 27th of 2023 this note verbal, and it was received by the relevant team in South Africa on the 29th after the application already by South Africa was filed. Again, Israel responded by saying there was no dispute between the parties at the time of the application was filed by South Africa as required by ICJ convention. They said there's no dispute, but rather a unispute. They said utterances made by South Africa at the UN cannot be regarded as confirmation of the existence of a dispute. And reference to note verbal was a distortion of facts, according to Israel. South Africa merely sent out those note verbal in haste to try and justify the existence of a dispute. Israel was at all material times prepared to engage with South Africa. But remember, South Africa is of the view that the case that Israel was trying to drag it into bilateral was just a mere games, because acts of genocide were being committed in Gaza.